Yeah.
Unfortunately, it has to go with it. Okay, count 30 seconds.
All right, we are live.
Wait a minute. That's only 10 seconds.
Oh, the live just popped up.
Yeah, I know, but you have to wait 30 seconds. She said before we actually get live. It's a time lag. Close enough, roll on. Now you're muted. It's one of them days, isn't it?
Meeting called to order at 5:37 p.m. Members present: Danae, Jeff, myself, David Worley, and then also Holly, John, and Blair, and absent Cammie. I assume Cammie never joined us. First item is approval of the minutes.
I make a motion, we approve as written.
Can I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So passed. And old business, first thing, election of officers. Can we get a nomination?
For vice president or president, or what are we doing first?
Let's do president first.
Yeah.
I think David Wells has done an amazing job if he would consider continuing being president or chairperson, however we call it.
Be good
I'm
with
fine
that.
with that, or I'm fine with somebody else doing it too.
I'm fine with that.
All right, those in favor.
Danae, you're still vice chair, right?
I think so.
All right. Would you
And-
still entertain holding the vice chair if that was so? They're all right.
Yes.
Does anybody have any nominations other than the current slate?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay,
Make a
so
motion
if I
to
could
leave-
have someone I'm sorry, David, what'd you say?
So I make a motion, we keep things as is this year and roll that over into 2021.
So the motion is on the floor to keep the same slate of officers for 2021 as 2020. Second on that?
I will second it.
All right, so David Worley makes the motion and Jeff makes the second.
All
Are
in
there any
favor?
other nominations? Okay. Vote, please. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed, like sign? Okay, we will maintain the same slate of officers with David Wells being president and Danae Shelton being chairman and
I'll
vice
second.
chairman.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you on that. David, are you with us?
Yes.
I am.
Okay.
Answering a text. Updates on projects and programs.
Okay. Currently, we are in the process of winterizing the fountain. We've actually closed it down. We're going to have to replace or do some work on it. We were leaking a lot of water this year. We're going to have to go back before we open it up in the spring to reseal around the heads again. We've got to vacuum out the holding tank. These are annual items that we do in the spring normally, or winter and spring while it's down, so we can do maintenance on it. We're also having trouble. We've got to replace a pump on our lift station that takes care of the water, the actual water from the fountain. The pump is down, and so we're having to replace it and do some work on it. So we went ahead and just start our winterization 2 days early. We were going to shut it down Wednesday anyway. So we also have a force main line. It's a small line. It's not a big line, but it's a force main line in Memorial Park. We've got a blowout in it. It's seeping through the concrete on one of the walkways. And rather than cut the the sidewalk, we're going to wind up rerouting the line on that one. So that's also one of the projects we're working on. Down at the old park, the new pavilion, all of the tables are there and set up. Before the Christmas break, I had 3 members of the Lions Club come down for photographs. I had Jim Kahn, John King, and Bob Futrell down there. We took some photographs with they've actually purchased the 2 handicap tables, the Lions Club did. So we got some photographs to give him some little publicity on that and to let people know that the tables are up and usable. We are still waiting on 1 2-person table to arrive. It's going on the west side of the creek near the pump house. There's 1 location left there on that side, and that's it. And this will be a memorial table, 2-person table going in there. It hasn't arrived as yet, though. We've got all of our tarps off the structures at the ball fields. So we've got those put up for the winter. And I have a request or something I want to throw out there to you guys. The old park play structure, the one that's not really safe and we were going to replace it. We still have the volleyball set up, which we've never been able to get a good location for. What are your thoughts about us removing the playground structure and putting the volleyball set up there? Because otherwise we really don't have a place for it. We're using the location we were going to use for parking. When we changed the ball field around, we took that area that we were going to put the volleyball set up and utilized it for parking. So what is your thoughts of putting it in where the old play structure was, the volleyball set? We already have it. There's no sense in, we don't have to buy something else. And it's room there and it's don't have to worry about it, the ball going into traffic.
John,
Sounds good to me.
We're gonna put a sand pit around it, or are we just gonna make it grass?
No, it'll be grass. Remember, we talked about that last time they took it out simply because the sand, people were breaking glass in the sand. And so that's one of the things that we weren't going to do is put in it was just going to be a grass court.
So are these just 2 metal poles that will be cemented in so you have a firm net? Are these like portable nets?
No, these will be fixed position, and they also have the ability to be raised and lowered. This is a good set. We bought this set back several years ago, and it's set up so that you can actually raise the net and lower it depending on who's playing. If you want to play women's volleyball, it would come down. It could come down low enough to do badminton.
Okay.
So it's got the ability to raise and lower, but I want to put locks on it so that if somebody wants to utilize it, we'll leave it at a certain height, but if they want to use it for something else, they'll let us know. We'll adjust it for them on a temporary basis. But we've been beating our heads against the wall trying to figure out where we're going to put it since we've put the new pavilion in, and then we had to do parking for it. So it ate up our ground for the volleyball court.
It would be a nice shaded location.
Exactly. And it's near a picnic area, a shelter, and then there's also playground areas around it. As you recall, we were not going to put another play structure in, but use small individual play units.
Okay.
This would be a great one for families that are picnicking. They would have the ability to do either badminton or volleyball when they're playing, or when they're having their family get together or something in the future.
And it would be accessible to both pavilions as well. It's kind of in the middle.
So would you all be agreeable to doing that then?
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
Mr. Worley, you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, all right.
I think it's a good idea.
All right, so then that's what we will do. I'll have our guys start removal of the old playground unit. And then we'll put because again, the old playground unit is not passing inspection. I'll put it like that. We've got areas that we've had to actually close off, remove stuff because it wasn't, and we've got to get it out of there anyway. This gives us something to put back in that area that will help, give the public something to do while they're down there. So,
Absolutely.
and there's not many people utilizing it anyway, from what I'm told from parks employees and actually some other people who have been using the park down there. They haven't seen a lot of people playing on it. They go play on the pyramid or other items, swings and stuff like that. So, but this gives us a family option, which we really don't have at this point. Any other questions or about the Memorial Park or Old Park or even Doctor's Park at this point?
I have none.
No, I have none.
Okay. The mayor threw out, and we're trying to determine, we were working on the event rooms, and he had a question as to whether or not the large room and the small room, giving them names, we were talking about that. And he threw something out that I just want to throw out here to you, because he said these two gentlemen reflect some history that helped create Calvert City in the 40s and 50s. That Luther Draffin and Charles Hall were the individuals, and maybe doing the Luther Draffin room and the Charles Hall room being the smaller of the two. But these two gentlemen, he said, had a massive impact on getting the dam here, working with government to do that. And I know there's others, but there's another location that lists Mr. Draffin, but it does nothing in the city. And so that's for your consideration. Think about it. You don't have to make a decision tonight. I'm just throwing that out there.
Was that the late John Draffin's father?
I don't know which the lineage on that one. I know that
I
Luther
think
was.
so.
Is it? Okay.
I think so.
Seems like
He's the one that,
The bridge is named, isn't it? The
I'm sorry.
I-24 bridge is Luther Draffin Bridge, I think.
That is correct.
Mhm.
Yeah. But that's not inside the city.
Okay.
So and that was something that was brought up in our conversation. And he said, well, that's not inside Calvert City. So, and I really, other than using the lakes names again, as they're so often used for something, I don't really have any suggestions, honestly. And using something that is actually pertinent to the area seems to be the best in my mind. So,
Mhm.
Yeah. I have no problem with it, but there may be somebody else that might
well,
be offended that their, ancestor wasn't used, but
yeah, like I said, don't have to make a decision tonight, but just roll that around in your head. See if you have any other suggestions that we could talk about at our next meeting. And then let's see if we can come to a conclusion on that. So and
okay.
that way, once we come up with that, we'll go and we can do signage after that. Blair, do you want to weigh in on that? Or are you okay?
The only thing that I would say is that if it were not for Luther Draffin, we would not have Kentucky Dam.
That's exactly
We
right.
would not have our industry that we have. And out of everyone that has lived in Calvert City, he has done more for Calvert City than anyone that's lived here or lives here now. That's the only thing I would suggest. I think I've done a lot of history lately with this sesquicentennial, and it was pretty phenomenal, the impact that he had for Calvert in the 50s.
I agree.
And
Definitely.
Charles Hall was right next to him in all of it. So
That's what I was going to ask. I didn't recognize his name very much, so I didn't know what about him. Okay.
Yeah, he actually was not mentioned rarely at all, but he was Luther Draffen's right-hand man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to
Yeah.
know.
So,
Hmm.
all right. Okay. That's all the old business I've got, unless you all have questions or anything that I could address.
Well, we were talking about the facility usage regulations.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things we looked at was, I'm looking up on my board because I wish I could share this with you, but unfortunately I can't. Do you all want to consider, or are you okay with going like a half-day rental on the smaller or larger rooms as opposed to just a whole day rental?
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to anything like that.
Oh, that's
Anything
fine.
that brings the price point.
Because I
But
think we can actually do a half-day rental, especially on that smaller room. It would be easier because the setup may be a little more difficult on the larger one, but we might have the option at some point if we truly could do something like that on a light setup with no meal or something of that nature. On the smaller room, we could rent it, from 7 to 1 or 2, and then or whatever we could do it, and then or 7 to 1, and then rent again from 2 to 8 or something like that. That gives you 6-hour blocks. You get it for a half day price, or you go for a whole day and you get it all day and go with a all day price on that. The other, I don't know if we want to do that for the main hall or not, or do we want to go with on the main hall, set it up as a weekday and weekend rate?
well, with the main hall, if you had something major in there, what's the how much time would they need to get
See,
out?
that's just it. If it's a major,
reset?
if it's a major thing, you're going to set it up and take it down probably the same day, but it's not going to be a 4-hour block generally. You're not going to do a 4 or 6-hour block. You're going to do an all day setup
Right.
Mhm.
because you may be open for 6 to 8 hours, but it may take you 2 to 3 hours up and out,
Mhm.
So that's the reason I say you might want to look at maybe a weekday rate as opposed to a weekend rate. And I'm also, my recommendation, of course, it's up to you guys, but if we're going to do a break for the resident, make that break in the small room for the smaller parties where because generally you're not going to, if you're going to get that big one, it's going to eat up some time and some effort, set up, take down. So you're not going to get it for a half day. You're going to get it for a whole day. What we might get on a break, whereas, all right, if you could do whatever you want to do on the weekday as opposed to a weekend, you might get a better rate that way. That may be how we get a break like that. Again, these are just some ideas I'm throwing out there.
So do we want to get rid of the non-resident and resident?
Not necessarily. I think that the non-resident and resident would be for the small room. I think the smaller of the two rooms will handle most birthday parties, and so therefore you keep the resident rate for that if you want it all day. But I think, if you want to go with a resident in that small room for half a day, go for $40, and, get them a break that way too. I mean, there's options. We can bring the cost down by just different things, going half day instead of a whole day, because you probably don't need a whole day. I mean, how long does a birthday party run for kids? 2 hours?
Exactly. Hopefully
Yeah.
not near that long.
So you've got 2 hours set up, 2 hours on station, and 2 hours,
Who in the world would sign up for an
Kids are
all
cold, yeah.
So what I'm saying is they could probably pull it off in a half a day and get a $40 rate for that. And we'd still be able to rent it again that evening or
Yeah,
that morning and let somebody else have it that evening.
Well, I think it's good to let people have a shot at it, like you're saying, John. And the more people that get to use it, the more it might spin off, and they might say, you know what, we can do something else too. So I'm all for the accessibility for the lower priced events too. That gets people in the door, and they may come back and tell some people about the big events, or big rooms for big events.
Now, looking at this rate schedule that you sent, you've got $25 for the conference rooms. And is that
All right, that right there is gone. There is no,
Okay.
that conference room is the small,
Was the
that room
small
doesn't
that used
exist.
to exist?
That room does not exist as it once did. This room is now larger and will allow more people in it. And so that's the reason I'm saying we utilize that conference room is zip. That doesn't exist. And we use the small room and the large event room. Those are the two
Okay.
rooms we've got now, basically.
So we're thinking $60, maybe?
Well, I was thinking for, just keep it at 75 for the all day, but go 40 for a half day for that small room for a resident. You know, go 40
Okay.
and 40. I
Okay.
mean, right now you've been people that have been giving $75 for the big room. And, you know, we can't do that, I don't think, after the money we put into it. I'm not trying to get the money back that we put into it, but I'm also trying to say that we need to put money back that help maintain it.
Mhm.
Right.
So. And that's the reason I say, let's look at other ways to get that cost down for someone. They don't have to spend $75 to do a birthday party for 2 hours. They can do it for 40.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. I'm for. That sounds
And
good.
that gives us the ability to have 2 birthday parties on the same day.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Good. That sounds good.
Me too.
And then again, keep that rate, and you might do that rate, say 150 for non-residents, if they want to utilize it. Or
the
change,
small-
you may, or just go to $100 for that room for non-residents.
For the small conference room?
Yeah. For non-residents. This is not for the other. I mean,
But we're not gonna get it, you're probably not gonna get a lot of people to rent it because they can go to Kentucky Dam Village and rent the 18th green over there for less than that.
you sure?
I've rented it several times.
The 18th
well.
green,
hmm
like
'Cause I
outside,
know that some of the other,
No,
some of the other realms are a whole lot higher.
the
than what we
19th,
were at.
19th.
it's a conference room right off the 18th green at Kentucky Dam Village.
They don't
It's
call it
got
the
a
19th green.
fireplace. It's a big room.
Gotcha. Traditionally, the 19th green is the.
And how much is that per day? How
I'm
much
thinking
is it
it's
per
like, I think it was 95 last time I did it, but it's been a few years, so it could be higher than that.
I think I'll check into that for you and see what that
Okay.
rate is. Because I know we've used it for some others and the cost was higher than that when we utilized it.
David, are you talking about the Village Green?
Yep.
Okay.
One right by the 18th green
Like
Yeah.
those conference rooms on the far side, on the north side.
on the right side. If you're,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had
you got the tennis courts are down below and the rooms are on the right. It's the green, the room the closest to the green.
It's also got rooms off of that conference center. They've got the rooms in it too. Yeah.
Yes.
And that may have been what I'm thinking about because I think they rented some rooms too. So I don't know if it was a package deal or what.
Yeah, I
I'll-
haven't been in the other rooms.
I'll look into it because right now, even with the prices we got, nobody is cheaper than we are that I
Yeah.
can see. So,
You know, we want to be competitive, but like you said, we don't want to hurt other people too.
granted, and if that's too high, that's too high. We'll just go back and revisit that. We might want to consider something, just do away with that and do something else.
Well,
for
like
non-residents.
Lakeland Event Center, can you rent like just part of that building for part of a day? I don't know any of their
Oh, yeah, it's
rates at
got
all.
several different rooms. Blair, you could probably answer that one.
I just wondered how that compares.
We do not compare to Lakeland. I don't know off the top of my head. John's in the office. You might have that paper that I sent you. But they do rent it for half days and full days. And then they have this small conference room, but it's nowhere near $40 or $75. But you're also renting a nicer space. They have better tables and chairs and whatnot.
Right.
What she's saying is it's more expensive there than it is with us.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to do that I'm just saying that our rates right now are better than anybody that I've seen so far. Now, again, I haven't looked at the Village Green, so I can't answer that. But I do know they got at least three areas. Is that not right, Blair? And they can even combine a couple of them, I think.
Lakeland has two. They have a small room and then a large room. And then they
Okay.
have a classroom, but they're not using the classroom right now.
Okay, all right. I thought there was three, but okay, he's not renting a third one. Okay.
And they also have a conference room actually in the hotel too.
Yes, I'm aware of that. Yeah, I've been to that one as well. So I'll get with Scott on that and find out what their rates are. So we're not, I'm not proposing we change the rate on the main hall. I think
Yeah,
the
I agree.
rate on the main hall is, it's got general activities is $250 and nonprofit activities are half that, $125.
I think
I'm
that's
not
fair.
making, and I'm not proposing any changes to that. The only changes would be to the small classroom and giving a resident rate there for that one. And of course, the other thing would be is if you want to go back and look at a weekday rate for the big hall and a weekend rate, and you might reduce the weekday rate a little bit down from the 250. You know, if you wanted to give a better price, if somebody wanted to go that route.
Want to go 200 and 100 for weekdays?
Well, 200 for weekdays and 100 for the nonprofits you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's your all's thought on that. I mean, that's something we could work with, I think. If we're renting it, it's gonna work better than just sitting it up there and not using it.
I agree.
Biggest problem we have right now is we don't have a lot of ability to rent it at this point in time because of the restrictions on it. Yeah.
And everybody's wanting to rent it at the same time, which is typically the weekends.
Yeah. So, but if we give them an option where they can get a discount on the weekday rates, that might pull some to a weekday as opposed to weekend. And that'll actually be probably better for the plants.
Does anybody else have a recommendation on that?
No, I'm good with that.
That sounds okay. Yeah. Well, if you're trying to stir up the interest in it and try to get people to use it more often instead of having everybody trying to do it on the weekends, right, John?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds fine. See what happens. Yeah.
Blair, again, I'm going to ask you to weigh in here on this in particular, because I know with marketing and your ball field, I want to make sure that what we're doing is something you think is doable for this facility.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Okay.
I mean, they're renting the space. There's no setup. Are you planning on doing like a setup fee or something?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking if they're going to set it up, it's one thing. If we're going to set it up and take it down, that's going to be another charge. That's a different charge there.
Right.
And that's something I'll probably come up with and make a recommendation to council on that one, because it's going to be based on the cost of employees and to do that.
Right.
Perfect.
And the other is, and we haven't been doing this, is insurance versus deposit.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people, they feel like don't have, the renters especially, that don't have any kind of renter insurance or homeowners that would cover. You got homeowners, you could utilize that currently. Renters insurance would do the same thing. You could do a hold harmless with the city on that. But those who don't have it, then we need to, do we just do a deposit and leave it alone at deposit, or do you give them the option? What do you do there on that?
I think we almost have to do a deposit, don't we? For those that don't have insurance?
Well, I agree. Yes. Especially for those who don't have insurance, I would say yes. But would you accept insurance and being named second insured for their rental of it, as opposed to requiring deposit?
I think so.
They're still paying it. They're still going to come up with, basically, if something happens, we're going to go back and place a claim on that insurance. Or if something doesn't get cleaned. The problem with that is, let me back up. The problem with that is if somebody doesn't clean up, we're not going to get the insurance to pay for it. If someone does damage, we're going to get that. But if you want something that's gonna take care of the cleanup, then we need to do a deposit across the board as opposed to the insurance. And that may be what we actually need to do anyway. Maybe forego the insurance issue
I think
and just
so.
say you're gonna have a deposit. We take the deposit, we put the deposit in the bank, we deposit it, actually.
Mhm.
And then once it's done and it's approved for you to receive your deposit, then we cut you a check back. Now, if there's damage, we take out the amount of the damage from your deposit and you'll get the difference, if there is a difference.
Mhm.
That was the thought on that. I'm trying to be as fair as I can for everybody.
Yeah.
Because
Would
like I
probably
said,
be simpler.
My only concern, again, making it accessible is, let's say your average Calvert City resident whose kid's at the elementary school. And if you get your deposit, $150, $200 deposit or whatever it is, and then you have $100 or $50, it's going to be difficult probably for them to, throw $250 at a facility. I think. I mean, maybe not. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but when somebody's planning a birthday party, I think they're just going to punt and keep it at home for relatively free. I understand the reason for the deposit. I just don't want to price out the moms and dads, single parents, whatever, at the elementary school that want a place for their kids to have a birthday party, which close to the parks, and they can have cake and ice cream and everything like that. I may be unreasonable there.
I understand what you're saying. That's the whole reason that deposits come back. All they have to do is clean up.
I know, but I'm just saying some of them just even going and getting $250 probably out of a checking account to put down on,
Well, I'm not saying $250 will be the deposit. Right now, our deposit's $100.
No, I know, but $100 and then the fee of it, I don't. It's. I think we're within reason. I mean, I just want to just make sure we're keeping those. But in my imagination, AA meetings, things like that, the nonprofits, the local people. That's where our community benefits from this stuff. The corporations, the weddings, stuff like that. People are going to plan. They're going to spend a lot of money, and this is going to be a drop in the bucket. But I just don't want to price out. And it may not be. We may not be seeing this as a use that there. I mean, I don't know how many people would actually want to do that as a birthday area, but it is close to the parks, and I think a few people do it, and it would make a lot of sense to have birthdays there and things like that, or celebrations or anniversaries, the local residents. I think I just would feel better if it's used by the residents of Calvert City for the purpose of the people here as a benefit.
Well, are we talking about a deposit for the small room too, or just the big one?
Well, I mean, deposits would probably be, they could be different because the big room, I'm looking at deposit on both of them because my thought is if they walk away from they do an event and they just walk away from it,
Mhm.
that means that city employees have to go in there and clean up that mess,
Right.
and break down that. And if we don't have something to help offset that, then we're the taxpayers paying for that person's,
Yeah. Yeah, I
not
get that.
taking care of taking the responsibility. That's my issue is,
Mhm.
and, we maybe you don't need as large a deposit for one room as you do for the other.
I wouldn't think you would need one for the small one necessarily. And again, I think a penalty enough. I mean, obviously, whatever it will cost, 2 hours or whatever you would suspect, 2 hours of labor or an hour of labor, 2 people or 3 people to clean it up if there is a mess. And then, of course, the threat ought to be, if it's not held and if it's not put back, you can be banned from the use of the city facilities. I mean, I don't want to let somebody else scot-free. If they can't take care of our stuff, then they shouldn't be using it. But if they need a place that's reasonable and they can, I don't know, it shouldn't be crazy on a small room like that. The insurance will cover any major damage, like you said. We're just covering if they leave it in a mess and we have to go in and clean it up, make it presentable for the next ones.
What we're going to have to do is if they do damage, we're just going to have to, if their insurance won't cover it or they won't work out a deal to pay for it, We'll just have to take them small claims
Yeah.
or damages.
Because a deductible, it doesn't matter if it's $100 or $200, a down payment or a deposit. If they ruin it, that's not going to cover it anyway. You know, it's not gonna
The
matter.
biggest thing I've got is paying for employees to come in and clean it. And that's basically,
Yeah.
you know,
They should
time
be
you figure up,
Right,
you know,
John?
huh?
Yeah. That's just the deposit right there is what you're concerned
Yeah,
about.
that's all I'm talking about is the deposit.
I believe the deposit. I think that's probably just a good deterrent. I mean, it's risk free for the person to use it, unless somebody's coming in there and saying, I don't have that extra $50. Well, you're going to get it back anyway. So I don't think that's a big
Yeah,
deal.
as long as I'm just thinking, $50, $100, would cover is
Just make it something
on,
that's
on the small room. That a
Like-
corporation's not going to use it, but an individual wants for a birthday party of 12, 15, whatever, and they're local resident, or maybe if it's a local, but when I was hearing stuff like over $100, 150,
Right.
$150, I was just thinking people may not, an average mom down there she can go get the room for $50 and maybe put a $50, maybe even $100, but you start talking about a $250 deposit, I know she's going to get it back. She's still got to go get her hands on $250 and plop it down on that for a day or two.
Mhm.
And she might, and then people might not be willing to do that. It sounds
She might
like
as well just go
nothing.
on and go to Vertical Jump and pay $250 for a party.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're looking after the city interest too, and I think that's where I guess, I mean, if they can't afford to do it, they probably need to go somewhere else anyway. I mean, I think if they can't afford to
Well,
they can.
Well, we're
get
going to
back.
be, like I said, and I understand what you're saying. You're not trying to price it out. I understand that.
I
But
don't-
honestly, our rates are not going to price them out. They're going to be the lesser of their rates. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, and of course, then in bad weather, I understand there's an issue, but in the summertime, they can hold a party with electricity and everything down at the little pavilions and picnics areas we have for free.
good
There's no
point.
charge on them, and we don't, that's fine. We don't have a problem with that.
That's a good.
So
point.
we have options. We're trying to have options.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't know, I
Wintertime
mean-
is the issue.
Yeah.
I think for a resident, $50 for the small room, I think should be the most that we would charge for a deposit. And I think that would take care of cleanup.
Yeah, I think that covers.
And then we can go higher for the big one. And if you want to go $200 for the big one, you
I don't
can.
mind. Hey, if it's consensus, y'all want to be higher, let's go 100. That's fine. But when I was hearing bigger numbers for a small room, 100's fine, really. I mean, I was just thinking $300 for someone to plop down for a birthday, they're probably not going to do that, even though they get 250 of it back. So
Well, if we go 50 and we start to have issues, we can always revisit it.
yeah, whatever sounds better to you guys. I'm in favor of anything up to about $100 on the small room. I just didn't want to make it crazy.
Okay,
Right,
let
I
me run
agree.
this, see if this is agreeable to start with. On a small room, for weekday and weeknight, or weekday and weekends, resident is $75 for the whole day. No matter what day of the week it is. For non-resident, $100. Okay? For a half day rental, no matter what day of the week it is, it's 40 for a resident and 55 for a non-resident.
I'm good with all that.
Deposit $50.
Yep.
Okay? For a large room, now this is just general activities. This is not non-for-profit, but for large room, 250 rental for weekend, 200 for weekday. There is no half-day rental. And the deposit would be,
That's not going to be a small person. It's not going to be your local resident, I don't think. So do what you got to do.
125, 100, or 125.
Pay 125.
Deposit?
Yeah,
Well, I think we can go, weren't we going to go with
You
weren't
can
we
get,
going to go half
No.
price for nonprofits?
no. On that, well, nonprofit's different. We haven't even touched that. This is general activities.
I mean, you get somebody that puts in a trade show in there. I don't think they
That's a
have a
general activity.
problem.
That's not a nonprofit.
Yeah, I don't think they have a problem putting up a $200 deposit.
I'm with you. We can, and now we're in the area where I think, like Jeff was saying,
You guys okay with 200 then for general activities?
Do the right thing, because
Yeah.
you've got a lot more space, a lot more instruction, a lot more cleanup, a lot more everything. And
Yeah,
these are
right.
gonna be people that are gonna have the
Yeah.
money to do, and then in 250, whatever, not a deterrent at this point.
Mhm.
Weddings, no, it's not a problem,
So nonprofits, we're gonna do half the price of a general activity on weekends and weekdays, right? Or you just want to do that 125 across the board for that?
I think 125 across the board's fine.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the deposit on them, is that gonna be 125 or 200, or what is it? What's the deposit on a nonprofit?
I think 125, just make this
Yeah.
same as the room.
Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't.
or as long as they're getting it back, they don't care.
They don't, yeah, they won't.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Okay, so general activities for the large room, we're looking at 250 weekend. Weekday is 200. The deposit is 200 for general activities. For nonprofit, general activities, weekend is 125, weekdays is 125, and deposit is 125.
Oh,
Small room, for the small room, for non-resident, it's 75 for the day, 40 for half day, $50 deposit. For non-resident, it's $100 for a day and 55 for a half day and $50 deposit, correct?
Correct.
That's your
Sounds good.
recommendations? Okay.
And use of kitchen,
Um,
keep that at $50 or?
yeah, I don't see that that's an issue. Catering rooms stay the same. And just remove the conference room. One thing we do want to look up is set up and take down. And that's going to be, and I'll tell you, that'll be based on an hourly rate for 2 employees. Okay, that right there will be based totally on that. It's not going to be based on a set rate. It'll be whatever it costs me to set it up and take it down.
Fair enough.
Enough?
Yep.
That's good.
Do we
And we
need
will,
to put this to a vote?
not just yet. Okay, are we gonna charge for use of the tables and chairs?
I would think that should come with it.
I think you can come with it. I don't see how you could manage that anyway. You know, if they're there, they could use them if you don't pay for it or not, you know.
I wouldn't get one.
Well, if, in the
Okay.
past, if they have rented it and they wanted, let's say, all the tables and chairs set up, did we do that for them automatically?
No, not all, not necessarily. We did that. We did that for some nonprofits or something like that. But that's one of the things that we've got to start,
Mhm.
getting some compensation on that one. And that's just
Right.
hourly rate. So that's fine. If you want to do that, we'll just won't charge for that. If they want those, then that's just part of it.
Well, that would be part of the setup fee, correct, for the profits?
You set up fee for all of them,
Okay.
profits and nonprofits.
Well, the conference room's probably already set up a little bit, isn't it?
Nope.
No.
No, that one right there, no biggie. We'll put a couple tables up if they want to. That's not a big issue.
The big room, yeah.
The big room is the issue.
Okay.
Because, you're talking about something like,
I can see those. Yeah, you're right.
40 tables and 320 chairs.
Mhm.
That's set up and take down. That's the issue. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if they want to have somebody else bring in theirs, which may be nicer, maybe a different style, that's fine.
Can you put an
Right.
asterisk? Setup fee may apply for parties larger than boom, boom, boom.
Well, setup fee is just if they request it. And I'll set that up, but it's based
All right.
on the cost.
Yeah,
Setup.
okay, that's good. Setup fees available as requested or something like that.
Yeah, if they want us to set up and take down, basically, we're gonna give them probably 2 hours depending on how much. It's
Okay.
going to be basically how many hours it takes to set up and take it down, but no more than 2 hours, 2 men for 2 hours. Or
That
2
seems-
employees for 2 hours. I'm guessing be the tops. Now, they still didn't relieve them of the cleanup responsibilities. They would still need to do the cleanup, and they can do that, and then we can come back and take the tables afterwards. But if they don't do that, then we'll take the deposit.
Yeah, I think
that
as long
means
as this
we-
is all spelled out on the contract, I think that's
Sure.
great.
I agree too. I think that if they see it up front, they'll have to comply, and if they don't, we'll, keep their deposit.
Okay.
Agreed.
What I'll do, well, I'm gonna put all this stuff down as a recommendation and put it in writing, then give it to you guys at the next meeting for you all to vote on making this recommendation to the council. And then we'll take it to the council.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's good. How you doing?
That's good.
All right, we moving on to new business?
Wait a minute. Are you okay leaving the rates for the fields? Tournaments other than league championships, were listed at $20 per team. I don't see a reason to change that. I'm not talking about CCBSA or local, I'm not talking about them. This would be somebody coming in that wants to hold they're gonna say, we're gonna charge these people to come in here and play a league, a tournament, a traveling ball team setup. They charge $20 per team. If they want lights, that's just $20 per day. That's all. That's not a big charge.
Right.
And then if they're doing training camps, someone's going in, they're going to host a training camp, then they pay $5 for participant, and they could just pass that on if they need to. Those are current prices right now.
Okay. Now,
Yeah, and I honestly didn't even know we charged that stuff until you told us a few months ago, so I'm good with that.
but I know we had a really good event down there with a lot of people, about as many with the Preston Cove.
Preston Cove.
tournament.
I think it's one of those things we need to put in our kiosks, and
Yeah,
maybe we'll get some tables.
That being a nonprofit and particularly local and a lot of emotion, I guess, did we charge them for that, or was that like hopefully
We co-sponsored KCCC. I guess we co-sponsored because we offer the fields free of charge to CCBSA and
Right.
to the Marshall County Soccer Association. So the city is they have a sports league agreement with us. Okay.
because I could see that being an annual thing, and that would be a good thing when those kind of things come up. We could have the discretion of, hey, let's waive our fee for that. It was during the day, no lights anyway.
Yeah, but if there's no lighting, then you don't worry about that. But if someone's charging somebody to come in and do, like I said, traveling ball teams come in to play a tournament,
Yeah.
that's honestly that's $20 a team. That's been been here for 20 years,
I'm good with that.
believe it or not. Now,
just-
Wow.
On that.
I'm gonna say it's been several years that we didn't find it, didn't know that was there, and we
Mhm.
found it since then. And then, of course, training camps. We don't have training camps here often. But if you did.
We used to with
it's $5.
soccer. Yeah, they used to with
Yeah.
soccer. I remember that.
Mhm.
I
But
did it.
see, we don't do a lot of that anymore. So,
Right.
but I think it's something they're utilizing our facilities. We have to maintain, it's a basic fee, and most of them are going to be paid for by the actual participants that are coming there to play. And if they're doing a training camp, you're going to pay for the training camp in most cases. If it's
We
not,
used to,
then that's something they need to work with on the city to maybe set up as a quote unquote co-sponsor.
we used to play softball on field 4 at one time. So there's always a possibility of something like that, coming up.
Now you're playing softball. You're talking about just going out there in 2 groups playing softball?
No, we had a league there. It's been before
A
you.
league, okay. That's
We had a
different.
league there. It's been a long time ago.
Yeah.
A little small, but
I can see you in some nice baseball tights there, Dave Wells.
I know at Mike Miller Park, they, if it has anything to do with an elementary school or Marshall County Schools, they waive the fees. So that's just a thought.
So you're saying we waive the fees if it has to do with Calvert City Schools?
Right.
Cool.
Oh, I
No
mean,
problem with that.
that's just a suggestion.
Good idea.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah. Well, that it goes into nonprofits as well, and we could, and co-sponsorship. You know, we do a lot of co-sponsorships with the school system right now as it is. And so, you know, that would be something else that.
I don't think it needs to be written in there. I think it's.
No,
just
I don't
something
think so
to
either.
work
I
out.
think it's just something that they can do with the city.
That's good. That gives us some discretion, I think.
Yeah. I guess the only other thing, if you're looking at the pavilion or the amphitheater, I would suggest that if we're doing basically the same thing as the large room, but it's for performances and it's for performances or
Stage activities.
demonstrations or whatever, but it's not for auctions. It's not for picnics and family to get-togethers. Okay, that's not a pavilion for that. It's an amphitheater. It's a theater that is a performing arts type setup.
Mhm.
But if we're going to have somebody come in there and want to charge people to hear something or see a performance, if it's not co-sponsored, then I say it's, you know, charge the same thing we're charging for the large room. And then if it's a nonprofit wanting to do something, again, if it's not co-sponsored, you know, do the 125, do the same thing.
Well, one thing we didn't touch on was alcohol.
I did not.
Do we just want to double the deposit for the large room and no alcohol in the small room?
I question whether that's something I would like to talk to legal about, because it's almost a discriminatory policy where you're saying this individual can come in here and they could do damage with a baseball bat. And we're only going to charge them this, but if they come in and they drink and they actually stumble and fall and break something, we charge them twice at it. So
Right.
question the legality on, let me check on that one.
That's a hard one. to pin down. I think we're gonna have a difficult time with that. But
Yeah.
Well, we're only going to charge them what the cost would be to
I
repair.
didn't hear David Worley. What'd you say, David?
I think that's gonna be a really gray area. It's gonna be very hard to pin down. I mean, I don't know. I would suggest, talk to legal, but I don't know that, I can't imagine, and I'm pretty conservative, but I don't see how you're gonna get that buy that it's more if there's, because tough to prove if it's there. I mean, maybe not get cameras around, but
Let me talk with legal about that as to whether or not they could list that as discriminatory or not. Well, at the same time, I mean, we're giving rates for residents and non-residents too. So let me look at this and see if there's any issues to that. I don't know that there would be. Yes,
Well, just currently, does it say you cannot have alcohol in the
that
contract
is
or not?
correct.
It does say
No
that.
alcohol. That is not allowed.
And it could be that we just remove that. I mean, again, legal is obviously going to tell us what we should say and what shouldn't say, but maybe you just remove the whole thing about alcohol and
You
Yeah.
cover with insurance, yeah. Or your
yeah, it's not,
deposit, whatever. You take care of your people there, and if it goes bad, you're going to be responsible for it, period.
Yep.
Alcohol or not.
Yeah.
Baseball bad or not, like David said, same difference.
it may have something to do, John, maybe, I don't know, on our insurance or our liability, if we do or do not have, an open, I don't know. This is a legal issue. I mean, I don't know how.
yeah, I don't either.
I mean,
Let me see if we can do the deposit tier or something of that nature. That might include the use of alcoholic beverages.
Or as
all that was probably done before Calvert went wet.
Right. What other
Yeah.
facilities do?
Right.
If you go to Lakeland, do they have a different deposit for alcohol or not? I mean, when we try to rent, I don't remember them asking any questions about it, but that's been a while back. But I mean, I would think you
I think they do allow, we're the only ones to my knowledge that does not allow alcohol, but I don't know what their policy is as far as deposits and alcohol use.
I just, to me, if the city's protected, I don't think it really matters what they do. I mean, I think it's a legal activity, and if you've got the insurance covering it and the deposit to cover the mess, you get to be the person to take care of it. And you know, I seem to me that way anyway.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Because I mean,
Well,
it's
just
hard.
let me see. Go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting.
Well, I'm just saying, how do you know, like if you start delineating, it just makes it more complex. I'm just thinking from the angle of if you, like Danae said, just take it out of there, and you can do it, but then you just be reminded that your insurance will cover it if something happens, and so you must police yourself to some extent.
Yeah.
And the
They
city's
take on the liability that goes with it.
Yeah, I think that's just you can put a warning on it, just remind them of that.
That may be something we do, is they require insurance as opposed to a deposit change or increases, that they are required to have an insurance and to hold us as a second insured and harmless in that
Yeah.
situation, to have that. That might be that may be what we have to do on that. So but let me talk with legal and make sure if that's the way you want to go. Okay.
Mhm. I think that's good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What I have on the old pavilion, let's see here. Make a note here. Holly's working on that. My recommendation or my thoughts were on the new pavilion, on rental of it. If it's just a get together, just like someone's having a birthday party, they don't need anything. They're just going to go down there and utilize it. We're not going to charge. I go down there and sit. People go down there and sit at lunch. I can't see charging them to sit down there and eat their lunch at the table. But what we need to get into in consideration would be the use of the fireplace. And when we do finally get the panels and stuff like that for enclosure, to consider a charge for that. My recommendation on the fireplace would be they pay for the cost of a bottle of fuel. And maybe a surcharge on top of that. I don't know. But they would have the actual usage of, I mean, they could use all of that fuel. But we would charge them for it regardless if they used it all or not. Would be the fee on that.
$50
Again,
or
whatever it is. I'm not going to, I'm going by whatever the going rate is for LP gas. Now, if a bottle of LP gas is $40, then it's $40. If a bottle of LP gas is $25, then it's what we charge is $25. Whether they use it all or not. The other item would be set up and take down. Again, that's going to be the issue, is to set it up for them to use it. And that's going to be that shouldn't be much more than a $20, $25 fee on that for fireplace, because basically it's going down there to set it up. If we were going to use, once we get the panels and stuff, depending on how I'm trying to set those panels up where they can be just kept in an enclosure at the top, at the ceiling of the opening. And all they'd have to do is pull them down, with the exception of the two main entrances on the side. The sidewalk comes up in and shoots straight across, make those different than the rest of it, because that gives you the ability, those would be the ones we have to have the most issue with, set up and take down. The others would be more like rolling them up into an enclosure and locking the enclosure. But again, that's something we'll have to deal with when we get to that. Right now, the biggest thing is if somebody's wanting to use the fireplace, then the cost of a bottle of LP gas and say a $20, $25 fee for setup. And that takes care of us having to go get it and bring it back, stuff like that. So So basically, bottle of $25 plus the bottle of fuel, whatever the bottle of fuel cost. Is that doable for you guys? For use
Sounds
of the
good to me.
fireplace?
Sounds good to me.
Because we're not
That's
charging for the actual usage of the facility. We're charging for the usage of the fireplace.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
David, Mr.
Yes,
Wells?
yes,
Is that
sounds
okay
good
with
to
you?
me.
Oh, okay, all right. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I would assume that we're only gonna charge the refill price on that.
Correct. Actual cost. Whatever it costs for that bottle of fuel is what we charge them.
Well, John, could they bring their own, or is that, do we not
No.
want them, don't want to do
No.
that?
They're
Okay,
going to utilize our stuff. We're not going to put somebody else's stuff in there. We'll use ours. And we'll be utilizing new bottles that are actually rented from them. That way we control the equipment that's being utilized in there. And we're setting it up. I don't want people inside there setting it up themselves.
well, that's what I was getting. I didn't know how easy it was to access it. If it was something that could be done easily, it's not, so it's.
I don't want them, it's a controlled area. I want to keep it controlled by our people. I don't want that to be, because of its the volatile nature of it. If it's not handled right, I don't want that liability. So
I agree.
Okay.
fireplace rental, we'll just call it that, rental of fireplace is $25 plus what the cost of the bottle of fuel. And I'm talking about that one you would use on your grill. That's the bottle of fuel we're talking about. Okay? We're not talking about a 50, one of them big jobs like that. That's no.
Mhm.
The other one should last as long as they want to utilize it, I would think. So, anyway. Okay, that will get me through for right now as far as rental rates and that stuff. So if we want to, we're at 638 right now. Do you have anything else on the rental and cost
I'm
of
good.
usage? Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay. What I would like for you guys to think about in the budget, and this is the reason I brought this up, is I really would like for you guys to think about and set aside what you think are our capital needs. Not wants, but the needs first. What do we need in the park? You know, and then come back and say, well, what are our wants? I want them separate so we can actually prioritize. So set up capital needs first and then capital wants next. You know, we are in the process of purchasing some more land over off of to be add about I think it's about an acre and a half to the an acre and a half or 2.5. So, well, we're looking at purchasing some land and actually have a verbal agreement on some land for the Memorial Park expansion.
Good.
So, and I'll leave it at that.
Good.
Cool.
That has a good potential.
So, but yeah, if you would, I want you to think about that and when you get into that, go ahead and prioritize your thoughts on these projects. We're going to get to the point where we're having to deal more with, I'm trying to look at some actual priority needs. Now, Blair, if you got a minute to talk to them real quick about the sesquicentennial. Now I'm having trouble with it.
Say it again.
Sesquicentennial.
Sesqua.
Sesqua,
S-E-S.
not Sasquatch, Sesqua.
So here's what we have, just what we have planned so far. Most of the events will happen in Memorial Park on Friday, or say starting on Thursday, July the 1st. We will start with a sesquicentennial ball, which will be held at Kentucky Dam Village. And that is on that Thursday night. So that'll kind of be our kickoff event where we will highlight people that are, have been influential in Calvert, past, present, and future, and, recognize those people that are living in, that have passed on. So then on Friday, that is the 2nd, most people will, let's see, well, no, they won't have that day off. They'll have Monday off. So Friday starts at, I think, 5 o'clock. We'll start with music, just some local talent. There'll be inflatables. There will be carousel and a Ferris wheel, along with game trailers for people to, like the carnival games. So we'll have our music, arts and crafts, all of that will be set up on Friday evening, and that will follow through until Saturday, all day Saturday. Food trucks, arts and crafts, music, carnival rides. And then Sunday, we'll start Sunday morning. I think we start at 1 o'clock with an ice cream social and sing along. So we've invited the local churches to, after church, come to that event and do some sing-alongs with a band called the Bluegrass, I think it's Homemade Jam Band. And they do religious songs, hymns, and kind of a sing-along. So we'll have ice cream social, and then the music sing-along, and then we will go into a fiddle contest. The fiddle contest will be from 2 until 6, I think. And then we will have the parade, and then the parade will lead to the fireworks. Also, things I didn't mention was the beard contest. Beard, not beer. The beard contest. So start growing your beards. We kind of replicated some of the events from the 1971 centennial, and the beard contest was one of them. So that should be pretty exciting and fun to watch. We have Rhonda Vincent and the Rage performing Saturday night. And then Friday night, I am really trying to get Jeffrey Steele, who was suggested by Chris Harrington. He's a country music singer, songwriter, and apparently a lot of the workers where Chris works really like him. So I'm working to try and get him booked on that Friday night. So Friday night would be Jeffrey Steele, and Saturday would be Rhonda Vincent and the Rage. And then we'd fill the rest of the day with local musicians. So full weekend, starting Thursday, not to mention we have a golf scramble, utilizing both of our golf courses, Kentucky Dam Village and Calvert Country Club, doing some pickleball, kind of how-tos, learning pickleball, and am I forgetting anything, Danae? Oh, 3-on-3 basketball tournament.
The ferry rides.
Ferry rides, that's right. Dwayne Stice is working on getting an operational ferry that would leave from Haddock's Ferry and go across the way, so you could experience what it was like back in 1836 when Haddock's Ferry was created. And then also we are working with P&L to get a caboose moved down to the back of Doctors Park, so that people can cruise by and check that out. They can look and see, get up close and personal with what a caboose looks like. And then I think that we're also looking at doing some cemetery tours. And that will be either during the event or maybe pushing it to October.
And then some of the Kentucky Dam tours, wasn't it something with the, I don't know if that was worked out or not, but that they talked about that at least.
Yeah, they talked about doing some tours with TVA and setting up some tours with the visitor center and just including that with our with our event. But everything's going to be 150. So starting, I hope to have it all finished this week and I'll get everything sent out. But I'm working on the website right now and we're trying just to stick with that 150 number. So anything and everything that we plan or do should have that 150 logo on it and be added to our website. And I would really love to see, events that the library does, events that the school does, to kind of include that and incorporate that 150 into the entire year.
And we will need volunteers.
Yes, I need volunteers. I will hunt you down because there is no way that this can be done with me and Danae.
I figured you handle those pumpkins so well, you could handle this too.
You asked Nita Hale about that. Nita Hale was one of those, whew. She was a trooper, man. She moved 300 pumpkins by herself. But yeah, that'll be out, and I'll send, once I get everything ready, hopefully it will be this week. I will send it out to you guys so that you can look at it and let me know before it goes public if there's anything that needs to be changed.
Good job, Blair.
Looks good. Sounds good.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, sounds like well.
Exciting.
So there's a lot of stuff going on with that one. I know there's going to be there's just going to be more stuff than you can imagine from the way it sounds. So
It's gonna be fun.
yeah. And Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Well, I guess we'll be thinking about our capital needs and wants, and I guess I need a motion to adjourn.
Needs and wants.
I
Motion.
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
And 6:49 p.m. We
Happy
are
New
adjourned.
Year's, guys.
Thank you,
Yeah.
guys.
Happy New Year.